What is up, guys? It's Brian Alsruhe with NeverSay.com, and before we get into bench press part 3, we have an Atlas stone away. So this morning I came in and took the stone out of the mold and rolled it onto my veterinary scale, and the end weight is 398 pounds. 398.4 to be specific. Am I mad about a 398 pound stone? Kinda. Not really though. I was looking for something above 400 pounds, but this will do nicely as a 400 pound stone. I don't care what you say, I'm calling it a 400 pound stone. Yes, you are right, sir. It is 1.6 pounds off, but you know what? For a big chunk of concrete, that is close enough for me. So I'm happy, relatively. So now it will stay and rest to finish cooking with the rest of the stones. Look at all these guys. It's kind of like I'm a ugly mother hen. It's probably gonna take a couple more weeks of cooking before I can actually drop it, but at that time I will start the How to Perform Atlas Stone series, and hopefully we'll have that 400 pound stone as a PR. We will see if that happens. Anyway, on to the third part of the bench press series, where we're gonna be talking about identifying your weak points and some exercises that might help you fix them. Now, as always, these are exercises that have worked for me in the past. If you have things that work for you, that is awesome. You should stick with that. I'm also gonna warn you to go back and watch parts 1 and 2 because this third part, again, builds on those two, and I'm gonna be referencing it. And if you don't have the basics down from parts 1 and 2, this third part really isn't gonna matter at all. You could do the best assistance exercises ever on the most wonderful program ever, and if your technique sucks, you're gonna suck. Make sure you have those basics down before you move on. It's all about the baby steps, man. Baby steps. And since Monday is International Bench Day for so many lifters, I wanted to get this out to you so you can apply it to your training right now. Let's go. Okay, so the first weak point that a lot of people run into is getting stuck off their chest. You bring the bar down, you go to press back up, it might go an inch, and then it comes right back to your chest. This is not cool for anybody. Now, if this describes you, you probably are doing one of two things wrong. Number one, you pick too heavy of a weight. I can't help you with that one. You gotta make smarter weight choices, man, come on. Or number two, you're doing something technically wrong, whether it be your setup was not good enough, you lost your tightness when you unracked the bar, you dropped the bar too fast, you didn't row it to your body, or you didn't tuck your elbows on the way down, and once you got to your chest, you ran out of horsepower. That was all you had. Go back and watch part 1 and 2. That's what they're there for. But for the sake of argument, let's say you did all those things correctly. That is an amazing job, man. I am proud of you. If that is the case, then you just had to work on a couple of assistance exercises. Here are a few that have worked for me when I've had problems getting the bar moving off my chest. The first being that I work on paused reps of the bench press. Now, when I'm talking about a pause, I'm talking about a deliberate count to 3 or 4 or 5 in your head and then press up. Not the type of pause reps that you see a lot of times on YouTube. Come on, man. I also really like pin presses where you load up the weight and you bring it down to a point just above your chest, and then you go from a dead stop every single rep. It's almost like a dead stop on the deadlift. You can't really do a lot of things wrong with this technique, and it is really good at helping you envision yourself wedging yourself between the barbell and the bench, like I talked about in the second video. But it is immensely harder without the eccentric motion, so you can expect your weights to be a bit lower than your normal bench press. With this same idea in mind, at the end of your workout, I like isometric holds against a stable object where you're just pushing into that zone. The object is not gonna move. For me personally, I like using a power rack, and I just lock it underneath the J hooks. I push up, I count to 5 or 6 or 7, get a good strong flex and isometric hold, and then I release, and I'll do that for a couple reps. Learning to create force against things that really don't want to move is immensely important when it comes to lifting heavy things, because there is gonna come the time in your life when you're gonna lower a bar and it's not going to want to move, but you're gonna continually push into it, and it's gonna happen. When that day does show up, you're gonna be very happy that you did these isometric holds and those pin presses. And finally, way down the tier of exercises, I really like to do deficit push-ups and ring push-ups, both of which allow you to get a good stretch across your pec and then get some contraction out of that bottom zone. Some people might put flies in this area, but I am not one of them. I much prefer the ring push-ups or deficit push-ups like I'm showing here. All right, so sticking point number 2 is the mid-range of the press. You drop the bar down to your chest, you get about halfway up, and then you get lost somewhere. It's like you went to Albuquerque. Don't go to Albuquerque. Now this again could be a setup issue or how you got the bar down to your body. If you did not tuck your elbows, you're not gonna have the horsepower to flare them and continue the press. It could be where you touch the bar on your chest, but more likely than anything, I would say it is a bar path issue. This would be a good time to go back and watch part 2. Now, I know none of these things describe you because you would have got them fixed after you watched part 2. What are you doing with your life, man? But let's just say, for argument's sake, that you have all of these things down perfect. I'm proud of you. Here are a couple exercises that have helped me whenever my bench press starts stalling in that mid-range. The very first one that I'm gonna mention, and is probably my favorite, is the banded bench press because it teaches you how to build bar speed throughout the movement. When you have bands on the bar and they're yanking it back down, you're not really getting the resistance in the bottom, and then it becomes accommodating resistance as you go up, and all that is a fancy way of saying it gets heavier as you press out. But if you're not learning how to generate that force and go from 0 to 100 in one motion, then the band's gonna slam you right back down. You're not gonna get the rep, and it's gonna get ugly. Also, I know a lot of people have gotten really good results from a 1 to 2 board press, but I don't have a 1 to 2 board press, so I'm not gonna show you that. But a good replacement for that is SPOTO presses. So you bring the bar down, you pause it a little bit off your chest, and then you go back up. This is an awesome exercise because you can't really do things wrong when you're pausing a rep like that. You can't even rest it on your chest. You need to biomechanically be supporting every ounce of that bar in the correct position and then reversing the motion. I think that is a terrific way to build some strength through the mid zone of your press. I also really like weighted dips here. Now, dips get a bad name because a lot of people get shoulder pain or sternum pain. You guys know what I'm talking about when you drop down and dip and it feels like something needs to pop right here, and sometimes it does. But dips, especially the weighted variety, have done a lot to help me build up my overall chest strength, my shoulder strength, my stability. I love them. I'm sorry if you can't do them. And finally, again, way down those tier of exercises for either a warm-up or a finisher, I like to do explosive push-ups onto benches or jump boxes or stacked up weight plates. But again, this is another exercise where you have to go from 0 to 100 and learn how to generate force when your body does not want to, because if you miss and your hand slips off, you fall on your face and you look like an idiot, and then everyone laughs at you. I wouldn't laugh at you though. And finally, sticking point part 3, where you get the bar 3/4 of the way up and it's like the finger of God tells you no. It is a massive generalization, but I feel like a lot of beginners get stuck with the bar off their chest because their setup wasn't good or they loaded weights too heavy. Even some intermediate lifters can kind of get stuck there, but most time they have it a little more figured out, so they get kind of stuck midway, and a lot of advanced lifters will get the bar 3/4 of the way up and that thing just shuts down. So of course here we're dealing with tricep strength at lockout, so we're gonna wanna do exercises that will override those triceps. You're gonna shorten the range of motion so you're just working the top portion, and for me personally, I absolutely love floor presses. All they basically are is you set up the bench so that you can be on the ground, you unrack the bar, you bring the bar down till it comes to a complete stop. Do not try to bounce the bar off the ground, off your elbows, because you have these things called bones. And when that force of the bar goes down and hits the floor, and there's nothing to kind of rebound off of and nothing but bone to catch that weight, those bones will give. Then you're in the hospital, and hospitals smell funny. I also am a huge fan of the close grip bench press. As you guys well know, it has done a ton to help my bench as well as my overhead press numbers for strongman. But I try to load this up. It teaches me a lot about tightness and rowing the bar towards me and how to use my lats in my press. Now, the thing to remember is that a close grip bench is nothing more than a closer grip. So you do not need your hands slammed right up next to each other. That is not going to go well for your wrists and probably your face. All that you're doing is bring your hand maybe a hand width in. Me personally, I like to grab a hold of the bar where the knurling stops and the smooth part, that's where I stick my index finger. That's closer grip for me. It hits my triceps more. I absolutely love it. You should try it. Also, along with the floor press and the close grip bench press would be the board press. Now, I actually do have a 3 board press thing. It's 3 pieces of wood. Anyway, again, this shortens the range of motion so that you can focus more on lockout and you can overload that muscle because you can do more weight with a shorter range of motion. Ideally, that is the plan. And then finally, again, down the tiering of exercises for all you guys who love to work out your arms. I don't understand you, but I do have to admit that tricep extensions will help out your press. Do them from all varieties. Some people like skull crushers, some people like rope tricep extensions, some people do a supinated grip, some do a pronated grip. Do whatever you want. Just throw some of these in at the end of your workout to burn out your triceps and completely finish them off. And then you can say you worked your arms. And then the last point that I want to make on this video are a couple other things that are massively important to having a big bench press. like your upper back strength. You need to do rows of all varieties. Row your face off, do barbell rows, pendulum rows, single arm barbell rows, single arm dumbbell rows. Just keep rowing. I've said it before, for shoulder health as well as strength, you're gonna be better off doing just as much, if not more volume and the same weight on your rows as you do on your bench press. It is incredibly important to have a good foundation to produce that force through, and your upper back is that foundation. How many guys have you seen that have a huge bench and a weak upper back? Zero. I also think it is massively important to drive up your overhead press strength numbers, both strict and with leg drive. A lot of people overlook the overhead press because it is not one of the big three and they're not actually doing any competition, but most people, if your overhead press goes up, your bench will go up. It works some of the time, 100% of the time, sometimes. And it only makes sense. You're building up your shoulder strength, your tricep strength, your core strength, your stability. If all those things go up, usually your bench press will go up as well. So do your rows, do your overhead press, watch parts 1 and 2 again to make sure that you have that technique down, and then start adding some of these assistance exercises to match the weak point of your press. Like I said at the beginning of the video, these are all things that have worked for me when I've gotten stuck over the years. Hopefully they will help you out some. If you have other things that work for you, that is completely awesome. I'm just telling you what has absolutely worked for me over the past 23 years. I just want to save you guys a little bit of time so that you don't need to bang your head against the wall as much as I have. But I do really thank you guys for watching, and I have some awesome news coming up. I can't tell you now, but I'm gonna tell you soon. And you guys are gonna be excited too. You better be excited. But I will be updating you guys as things progress, but keep an eye out for Mindset Challenges Part 2. I know a lot of you like the first one. I'm gonna give you 5 or 6 more challenges that you can try. Thanks to all of you who tried it the first couple. Your comments have been awesome. Thanks for watching, guys. Until I see you in a couple days, go out and do something amazing with your lives. Keep working hard. Be nice to each other. And I'll see you then.